Hi guys, such a sad state of affairs. I know in UK we're always talking about things like gas bills, electricity bills, getting intolerable situation, getting bad to worse. But you know what? I was quite upset to actually read an article about Pakistan where people have actually started to jump off bridges to actually kill themselves, and when they died they actually had electricity gas bills in their hands. That's how bad the situation is, would you believe? The crook government of Nawaz Sharif, who's actually living here in Mayfair, thanks to Sunak keeping him here even though his visa ran out a long time ago. Obviously UK government very much involved in what's happening in Pakistan with the Americans, or with, let's just say, with the blessings of Americans. The previous government have purposely left Pakistan in such a bad state. Just before they left, they already gas, electric, fuel prices were really high, but just before they went, they made them even bad to worse. It's like laying minefield for anybody who comes afterwards to actually make sure. I mean, how do these crooks live? I mean, do they not think that people are dying because of their decisions? But you know, they're so blinded by stealing money, by corruption, and the army involved with them in doing all this, that, you know, how can they sleep with themselves knowing that people are jumping off the cliffs, people are jumping off bridges, people are jumping in front of trains with their children, which is actually happening. It's not just a statement. It's actually happening right now. People are killing themselves. And yet they're quite happy to just continue on and on and on, raising gas, electric, oil prices, food prices to an intolerable level. And these bastards are getting away with it. The bastards are getting away. And the Americans are right in there, because every day there's a story. The American ambassador went and met the election commission. The ambassador went and met this crook. The ambassador went. So, you know, all this shit about Rishi Sunak saying it's an internal matter. If it's a bloody internal matter, why is it that you keep crooks in this country who are ordering things to happen in Pakistan? I've said it all along. If you look at some of my previous videos, that places like Sandhurst Training Academy for the army officers, what do you think they do? They don't just train people from English army. It's a systemic policy for the last 40, 50 years that America and UK basically bring in army cadets from all over the world, and they do all the grooming here. And they tell them, you're a promising individual in Pakistan, Africa, Europe, wherever. You listen to us, you will become a general in one day, and we will guarantee you do what we say, and we will make sure you get a nice place somewhere in Europe, because Germany's with us, France is with us, Spain is with us, all these European countries are with us, Australia, New Zealand. You do what we say in your country, and then when the time comes, we're going to make sure you're just fine. So carry on with us, do exactly what we ask you, and we will definitely look after you. And that's how corruption is rife. People who come to me and say, oh, this is happening in Africa. Oh, this is happening in Mali. Oh, this is happening in India. Oh, this is happening in Pakistan. Nothing to do with us. Well, it fucking is to do with you, because you're training people who are crooks. Why do you think they're keeping Nawaz Sharif here? Because he's the future that, or let's just say the remote control that the Americans and the British have got. They can make him do anything, because what they say is, look, we're protecting you here because one day we want you to go back there and we want you to do exactly what we want, because Pakistan is such a key place for the Americans and the British. How the importance that it's right next to Afghanistan, right next to Russia, right next to India, right next to China on the other side. It's bordering all these countries. It's systemically a big asset. Now, I know one of the other things I was watching was Indian news. And it's funny how the Indian news always talks about Pakistan begging for money, Pakistan begging for money. But you know what? Suddenly we hear they've gone to a different part of the moon and they've landed. But guess what? They're still taking 3.2 billion from the British in charity. So for a company to boast, oh, look, we have so much money, and then be getting charity from the British, it's just bloody double standards. But because we've got Sunak Indian, you know, they're getting away with it. And literally about 10 minutes ago, I read a story that there's an inquiry that why is it that the childminders, ordinary childminder registering themselves, get 600, but if they go with one of the 6 childminding agencies, they get 1,200. You're going to say, what's wrong with that? Well, there is something very badly wrong when the 6 agencies are owned by Sunak's wife, isn't it? The only 6 childminding agencies, if you go with them, you get 1,200 because they're owned by Rishi Sunak's family. I told you before, the company called Infosys. If you work in government departments, Infosys is in every government department. That's because Infosys is owned by his wife. Do you understand now? Or is it very difficult to understand? They are systemically putting his own bloody companies everywhere and ripping the money off. And that's the way it works, because government officials have no choice. They're told, right, guy from Infosys is coming along. You need to talk to this guy and you need to make sure we pass some contracts. Now it's childminding. Have you ever noticed how NHS suddenly has an influx of people from India? I don't know if you're aware of it, but India, Sri Lanka, South India, when you go into a hospital, all of a sudden they're all South Indian people. Where do you think it's coming from? Have you ever looked at the immigration site for the British Embassy in India? Maybe you should go and have a look. Put in British Embassy, Delhi, and then go and have a look at the immigration. And you're going to find they've suddenly made it very easy for Indians to come into the country. They boast and they talk about, oh, we're going to stop immigration. We're going to stop immigration. We're going to stop people coming here. But why is it suddenly just one country, India, has boosted that we want more Indians here? How does that work? Double standards, or are you guys so blind that you can't see what goes on in this country? So much corruption, so much corruption. Hands in every bloody country in corruption the UK's got and the Americans have got, that in some of the countries people are now killing themselves, literally killing themselves with their families, jumping in front of trains, killing. This week alone was a peak I read in Pakistan where I think 70-something people actually jumped and committed suicide because of the electricity gas bills, which were forced to hike by the United Nations and other organizations who lend money. And the crooks made sure they borrowed money. The money that was borrowed in the country's name, half of it was siphoned already. And the people who were lending the money knew very clearly that we're going to lend them X amount of money. We know 50% will be taken by these people before they come off the government. They took the money and they came off the government, filled up their pockets. And I bet a lot of money's ended up back in UK, in Sharif pockets here. That's the kind of corruption we're facing, guys. It saddens me to think that it's always the poor who suffer. Poor in England, poor in the rest of the world, while crooks like Sunak and others in his clan are making money left, right and centre because they know once we go, we go. This is one opportunity we can skim the system, take the money. You already heard so many stories about Tories and the Lords who cleared in in different kind of scams. They've taken the money. Sunak is at it left, right and centre. And I'm surprised that there is no process of impeaching these guys and getting rid of them when they're found to be corrupt. I mean, just now they found him stealing by sending business to his own wife's care agency. And yet, guess what? He's still going to continue. Everybody's happy for him to stay. Indians are going to keep flowing into the country, doing hundreds of jobs, while he keeps on saying, we don't want boat people, we don't want boat people, we don't want boat people. But that's fine. The Indian people can come openly. I've got some friends in India who actually told me, you know what, I'm thinking of coming to UK because thank God Sunak is there, because it's very easy for us to apply and get the visa for UK. That is a shit state of affairs. What a serious fuck up, guys. I'm so upset about this whole matter.